the treading of a drum, and out of the dumb darkness, Satyavan, her husband, grew into a luminous shape. This mission to the night, his little call. This is my silent, dark immensity, entombing the vanity of life's desire. Hast thou beheld thy soul, O transient heart, and known from what the dream thou art was made?
Good morning. So we're reading in Book 9, the Book of Eternal Night, Canto 2, The Journey in Eternal Night. And we're on page 587, starting at line 199. So just to review, Satyavan, Savitri's husband, has died in her arms, and Savitri, an incarnation of the mother, is pursuing the god Death, who's taking Satyavan's soul into his underworld. So Savitri is pursuing to win back the soul of Satyavan. And they have been proceeding into the darkness, into the night of death. And Savitri's dialogue with the god Death has begun, but it's just beginning, and it'll extend into the next 3 cantos. Death has been warning Savitri to turn back, that she cannot persist in that void into which they are entering. But she feels her soul eternal and is undeterred by Death's arguments. She feels that she can pursue wherever God may lead, into the very void itself, and that she will persist. So let's continue reading, again on page 587, line 199. And Paula, if you would like to begin.
Rest. They have breathed a courage that is met by death. They have given a wisdom that is mocked by night. They have traced a journey that foresees no goal. Aimless, man toils in an uncertain world, lulled by inconstant pauses of his pain, scourged like a beast by the infinite desire, bound to the chariot of the dreadful gods. But if thou still canst hope, and still wouldst love, return to thy body's shell, thy tie to earth, and with thy heart's little remnants try to live. Hope not to win back to thee, Satyavan. Yet, since thy strength deserves no trivial crown, gifts I can give to soothe thy wounded life. The pacts which transient beings make with fate, and the wayside sweetness earthbound hearts would pluck, these, if thy will accepts, make freely thine. Choose a life's hopes for thy deceiving prize.
Thank you. They, let's see. Yes, the gods who watch the earth. Death has been telling Savitri that this world, this earth in which you live, it's unreal. It's something just floating in the nothingness. It's transient. Nothing there lasts. All returns to the void, to himself, this God of death. And that mankind just imagines all these things of the world, these gods, the peoples, the unreal blue with these beings, these gods that he hopes will help him in his suffering and pain and transience. So he had said, moved by the presences with which he yearns, he offers in implacable shrines his soul and clothes all with the beauty of his dreams. The gods who watch the earth with sleepless eyes and guide its giant stumblings through the void have given to man the burden of his mind. In his unwilling heart, they have lit their fires and sown in it incurable unrest. So that's who he's referring to, these gods, which he says that the mind of man has imagined that would help him. Yes, he's telling her, I'm going to give you some boons, some things, because you have been so courageous and followed me this far into the night. So go back and I will give you some things to make your life easier when you go back to the earth. But they also will not last. These prizes, these boons that I give you, they also are unreal and will dissolve, and you also will end up here in the void. So he's offering her what she had hoped for in her life. Not Satyavan, but other things. Okay, let's continue. Margaret.
As ceased the restless and tremendous voice, unendingly there rose in Savitri, like moonlight ridges on a shuddering flood, a stir of thoughts, out of some silence born, across a sea of her dumb, fathomless heart. At last she spoke. Her voice was heard by night. I bow not to thee, O huge mask of death, black lie of night, to the cold soul of man, unreal, inescapable end of things, though grim jest played with the immortal spirit. Conscious of immortality I walked, a victor spirit, conscious of my force, not as a suppliant to thy gates I came. Unslain, I have survived the clutch of night. My first strong grief moves not my seated mind. My unwept tears have turned to pearls of strength. I have transformed my ill-shaped, brittle clay into the hardness of a statued soul. Now, in the wrestling of the splendid gods, my spirit shall be obstinate and strong against the vast refusal of the world.
Thank you. Let's pause there. We see the power and determination of Savitri, how she speaks to death. I bow not to thee. And she intimates his unreality. He's claiming the world is unreal and that this eternity of the soul is unreal. But she's telling that he is a mask, something unreal, black lie of night to the cowed soul of man. Cowed here is submissive, submitting to the fate of death. And again, unreal, inescapable end of things. So she's telling, he is not true, is not real. Thou grim jest, played with the immortal spirit, as if he's kind of a actor in a play, playing with the immortal spirit, the soul of man. She says, conscious of immortality I walk. She's conscious of her immortality, so she's not persuaded by his arguments. Okay? Well, I think that within all of its existence, there's this immortal spirit that is playing, in a sense, with all of these forms, these transient forms. But within them is this immortal spirit interacting with, in a way, other forms of itself. But it itself is eternal. It outlasts these forms in which it dwells. Something like that.
Basically the cosmic. the divine. So that could be maybe ridiculous, could be both, no?
Mm. Yeah, the individual divine is within each of these individual beings and forms, but the cosmos as a whole, the universe as a whole, also has this immortal spirit. And then again, she says, she describes herself, a victor spirit conscious of my force. This is the Divine Mother, the divine force of the Supreme Being. That's what she represents. That she is an incarnation of that. And she's conscious of it. So already she's survived this clutch of night. Already she's entered deep into this darkness and void of death in which all the forms are dissolving around her. And her first grief, what she had felt already even prior to Satyavan's death, because she knew that he would be soon passing away, and perhaps just at the moment of his death. But then she transformed that pain and suffering and grief into strength, into power in order to defeat death. My unwept tears have turned to pearls of strength. I have transformed my ill-shaped brittle clay into the hardness of a statued soul. Yeah, that is his realm. This realm of death is often described in these terms of terror, not just right here, but in other places. You'll see that it is a kind of a terrifying kind of experience into which she's entering. But I suppose it depends on the consciousness of the soul entering into that. She's retains that consciousness of immortality. So she's not convinced of that, transience, of that inevitability of dissolving like these forms. She's not identified with the form in that sense. If we identify with our form, with our body, and then it begins to decay and dissolve as material forms do, if we're identified with that, then certainly it's a terrifying experience. And she says, now in the wrestling of the splendid gods. So she's preparing, or has prepared, in order to wrestle with this God in this debate which will go on, in which he will be trying to convince her of his reality, of his nothingness and void that is the ultimate reality of things. And she will stand for her reality the immortality of the soul that persists, that is a projection of the eternal spirit of God. So it's a debate between these two different perceptions or aspects of the reality. On the one side, the conscious, immortal spirit. On the other, the inconscient, the void from which matter and the evolution proceed upwards in the slow course of evolution. Okay, yes. But yeah, I was interpreting it as she and the god of death would be wrestling, but perhaps also there are these other gods that help in that battle. Yeah, I think he's basically arguing that this soul, what she perceives herself, is really just a dream, an imagination of the mind, which itself is transient and will dissolve with the body. So he denies the soul. He says in other parts of his argument that it's an imagination of your mind. Okay, we'll continue, Sudanya.
I stoop not with the subject mob of the mind of minds to run to glean with eager satisfied hands, and pick from its mile mid many trampling feet, its scornful small concessions to the weak. Mine is the labor of the battling gods, imposing on the slow, reluctant ears the flaming will that reign beyond the stars. They lay the law of mind on matter's work, and win the soul's wish from earth's inconscient force. First, I demand whatever Satyavan, my husband, working in the forest charm, out of his long, pure childhood's lonely dreams, desired and had not for his beautiful life. Give if thou must, or if thou canst refuse. Dead bowed his head in scornful cold assent. The builder of this dreamlike earth for man was mocked with vanity all gift he gave.
Thank you. Let's pause. So in this first sentence, we get a very disparaging, kind of belittling view of mankind, the subject mob of minds who run to glean with eager, satisfied hands and pick from its mire mid many trampling feet its scornful small concessions to the weak, as if people are just trying to pick up these little pleasures, little satisfactions out of the mud in life, all kind of jostling to get those things, those little gifts of life. She says, I'm not like the common lot of human beings. Mine is the labor of the battling gods. And these gods impose on the slow, reluctant years the flaming will that reigns beyond the stars. We see in this long, protracted evolution on Earth this will that strives to overcome the limitations of this inconscient force from which the evolution arises. It lays on this inconscient force, on our physical matter, the law of mind. It imposes the power of mind over matter to build it into something greater. It formulates matter, organizes it, uplifts it, refines it, and finally wins the soul's wish from Earth's inconscient force. Well, at first, as the evolution proceeds out of matter, it's just inconscient force. It's just material energy. But gradually, over time, over eons of time, it becomes organized. It becomes formulated into forms, into living forms, into thinking beings, and finally into the soul within becomes conscious of itself, becomes conscious of this spirit within its own immortality, and imposes on its material form its will. It's not just carried away by nature's forces, by its inertia of the body, the desires of the mind, or of the life force, or even of the mind's thoughts and wishes and imaginations. It imposes the soul's wish, what the soul desires, what the soul has willed, why it has entered into this manifestation, to create something beautiful and divine here. So then she makes her demands on death. She demands whatever Satyavan, out of his long, pure childhood's lonely dreams, desired and had not for his beautiful life. She says to death, you give those things. You give me those boons. Or if you can, refuse. But this is my demand. She's taunting him. And death bowed his assent. He has to agree. She has this power over him in scornful, cold assent. And then describes him, the builder of this dreamlike earth for man, who has mocked with vanity all gifts he gave. So all these gifts that death gives, he mocks with vanity, because he takes them all back again. They all dissolve, all his gifts. So we continue.
Uplifting his disastrous voice, he spoke. Indulgent to the dreams of my touch shall break, I yield to his blind father's longing heart, kingdom and power and friends and greatness lost, and royal trappings for his peaceful age. The pallid pomps of man's declining days, the silvered decadent glories of life's fall. To one who wiser grew by adverse fate, goods I restore the deluded soul prefers, to impersonal nothingness's bare sublime. The sensuous solace of the light I give to eyes which could have found a larger realm, a deeper vision in their fathomless night. For that this man desired and asked in vain, while still he lived on earth and cherished hope. Back from the grandeur of my perilous realms, go, mortal, to thy small permitted sphere. Hasten swift-footed, lest to slay thy life, the great law thou hast violated, moved, open at last on thee their marble eyes.
Thank you. Let's pause. So at Savitri's command, death assents and gives these boons which he has asked, what Satyavan had desired in his life.
Satyavan had desired. She didn't say, I want the trappings of Black Palace,
Right.
kingdom, blindness, but he gives from his own thinking, that's what he desired.
Right.
Divine desire.
So he knows what Satyavan has desired. And Satyavan had desired for his father, who had become blind and lost his kingdom. He had been a king. He grew blind and lost his kingdom. So death says, I will restore his sight and his kingdom. I yield to his blind father's longing heart, kingdom and power and friends and greatness lost, and royal trappings for his peaceful age. The pallid pomps of man's declining days. This line, he's again mocking these gifts that he's giving, belittling them, just calling them pomps of man's declining days, in which, of course, will soon end in any case. The silver decadent glories of life's fall. And then he says that his blind father had been better off blind. He had grown wiser by adverse fate, by this adverse fate of blindness. So, goods I restore, the deluded soul prefers, to impersonal nothingnesses bare sublime. The sensuous solace of light I give to eyes that could have found a larger realm, a deeper vision in their fathomless night. So he suggests that he was better off blind. He found a greater wisdom in that darkness. And then I thought it maybe just helpful to remind us in the author's note at the beginning of the poem, in which the author Sri Aurobindo gives the symbolism of Dumatsena, Satyavan's father, the king who lost his sight. Dumatsena, lord of the shining hosts, father of Satyavan, is the divine mind, here fallen blind, losing its celestial kingdom of vision, and through that loss, its kingdom of glory. So he represents the mind, the divine mind, here as it descends into the earth realms, loses that celestial vision, that infinity of vision of the divine mind, and it becomes blind. It loses its vision, its knowledge. Its knowledge of past, present, and future. And it only sees maybe the little step in front in which it can proceed step by step forward through the night, through the darkness of the world. So we are all kind of a reflection of that. And now death is going to return that vision, that knowledge. So then he says, go back. I'll give you these boons. Go back to earth, to thy small permitted sphere. Go quickly before this marble eyes of death shall open and take you into them. So we continue. Would you read?
Go, mortal, to this small permitted sphere, as Tom sweet-footed list to slay with his life. The great laws thou hast violated, moved, open at least on their marble eyes. But Savitri answered the disdainful shade. World spirit, I was the equal spirit born. My will too is a law, my strength a god. I am immortal in my mortality. I tremble not before the immobile gaze of the unchanging marble hierarchies that look with the stone eyes of law and fate. My soul can meet them with its living fire. Out of the shadow give me back again into earth's flowering spaces, Satyavan, in the sweet transiety of human limbs, to do with him my spirit's burning will. I will bear with him the ancient mother's load. I will follow with him earth's path that leads to God. Else shall the eternal spaces open to me, while round us strange horizons far recede, traveling together in the immense unknown. For I who have trod with him the tracts of time, can meet behind his steps whatever night or unimaginable stupendous dawn breaks on our spirits in the untrod beyond. Wherever through leads his soul, I shall pursue.
Thank you. We see again these marble eyes. At the end of the last passage, Death had said, "Hasten swift-footed, lest to slay thy life the great laws thou hast violated. Moved, open at last on thee their marble eyes." So they're referring to these great laws which she has violated now by entering into death, conscious, unslain. And then they are moved. They will be moved by her violation and open on her their marble eyes. So they will be touched, they will be motivated to respond to her violation. Okay? And then
let's say, reducing it, like it's firm law and it has to be obeyed.
right.
No concession, no.
Right, they're very hard, firm laws. You can't violate these without consequence. That's why they're marble, they're hard as marble. But I think it's attributed also to, to this look, to this immobile gaze. She says, "I tremble not before the immobile gaze." So it's the look of these laws on us, and they stare at us as if they cannot be changed, cannot be persuaded by any arguments. They're eternal laws, this law of death. Try not, to change this or win back the soul of Satyavan. This is an eternal law. Yeah, and this is the law that has been from the beginning of time, right? I mean, it's like you say, nobody has ever conquered this. But Savitri is attempting to do that here. And then we say Mother has done that, has gone into death, has wrestled with this inevitability of death, found out, discovered what it really is. Is it really eternal, or is it maybe something that can be changed?
So there are many yogis who have attempted this and who have surpassed the concept of death. Death will not touch them if they live in the cycle of state. But what Madhavan showed in this attempting is to completely make even the earth of matter. That requires again, we should not forget the truth, but enlarge the truth.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. So many yogis have attained that immortality of their soul, of identifying with their soul, but their bodies still have dissolved. And what Sri Aurobindo and the mother were attempting was that immortality of the body itself and of the life.
When they complained about the same thing, if my wife died or my mother died, they said if you cling too much, and especially if you're trying to spiritual life, it is a block. You are actually hindering that soul's progress, because it is the truth is two-way, but of course that is condescending and partial. But it is because, as you said, the divine mind, it is in the ignorance, everything is identified with something wrong. And sometimes it is for the soul an opportunity for progress, because we see only with our identified egoistic desire, and even with the family member, the one who clings too much, it is their ego which misses the person. That person has moved on and he is probably in a higher life. And it is our own deficiency of identifying with our ego consciousness. Of course, I'm not saying in the way of rejecting in a condescending way as death is. But always one can be free only when one is identified with the truth and also understands the truth and loves the person in the true way, in the human world. Otherwise, one always suffers and also gives suffering, and one ignorantly clings.
Yeah, there was that research of people who had died but somehow came back to life and recounted their journey and realized then that they were a soul that was inhabiting that body but was not that body. And as Nitya is saying, that we cling to the bodies of the ones that we love when they depart, when they die, rather than to their soul and realize, identify them with their soul. So their souls will continue. We can pray for their souls to have a safe and good journey to their place of rest, the psychic world, where the soul goes between lives to rest and to assimilate its experiences and prepare for its next life on earth. Better to identify with that, pray for the soul, rather than cry over the passing of the body. And that grief that clings to the body tends to hold back the soul from its journey into the psychic world. But all of this, yes, it pertains to identifying with the soul rather than the physical. But as I was saying earlier, this mission is something more that Savitri and the mother have undertaken. She's trying to rescue not only the soul of Satyavan, she wants to rescue his life and body and bring it back to earth.
What we meant by immortality is you can identify with different lives, and that way you are immortal. But your body, I don't think you are trying to make your body an immortal. That's not understanding. Their conception of immortality was you can identify with your various lives and your utilizing. So that was the meaning. The meaning was supramental being. And that was, people then asked me, people will not die when you, that is the thing, he said, no, it's not that. The physical body will die, but that person, that evolved person will be able to identify with all his lives. So that way is immortal. Like, when he goes to the next life, he'll be able to see this life. That's what my understanding is. Just want to check with you.
Yeah.
But I understand from the discussion which Auroville had and about this deathlessness of
Yeah, you can, there is this immortality of the soul, of the spirit within. But that is something that, many yogis had achieved before. So they can go into the immortality of the self, disappear, leave the body without any grief because they're not identified with the body. So they can leave and go into this, heavenly realm or into the spirit or whatever. But I think, that Mother and Sri Aurobindo were attaining, there is the title of his philosophical work, The Life Divine. Right? He was aiming for a divine life here on earth. Yeah, that's the first step is to become conscious, to live in the spirit, in the soul. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, you can have your view of it. It's okay. Mm. Right. Mm. Right. Yeah, that's it. So let's just. So she's saying that she doesn't tremble before these unchanging hierarchies that look with the stone eyes of law and faith. She says, my soul can meet them with its living fire, the fire of her spirit's will. So then she's saying, out of thy shadow, give me back again into earth's flowering spaces, Satyavan, in the sweet transiency of human limbs, to do with him my spirit's burning will. So she wants him back on earth, right? And then I will bear with him the ancient mother's load. I will follow with him earth's path that leads to God. So she wants to live again on earth with Satyavan and follow the path that leads to God. She says, otherwise, I will follow into the eternal spaces, into the night, into your realm, traveling together the immense unknown. For me, I have trod with him the tracks of time. I can also meet behind his steps whatever night or unimaginable stupendous dawn breaks on our spirits in the untrod beyond. Wherever thou leadest his soul, I shall pursue. So she's going to follow wherever he takes. So we continue. Yeah, this ancient mother. Yeah, we can take it in, I think, in different ways, but it could be the Divine Mother who bears also the suffering of humanity, but also this goddess who is leading this long evolution, the ancient goddess. I mean, she's carrying forward this evolution through the eons of time to God, from the inconscient to conscious immortality. And it's a load, it's a heavy load. And the mother incarnates time after time after time in order to help to carry this load of difficulty. So let's continue.
But to her claim opposed, implacable, insisting on the immutable decree, insisting on the immitigable law and the insignificance of created things. Out of the rolling wastes of night, there came, born from the enigma of the unknowable depths, a voice of majesty and appalling scorn. As when the storm-haired titan striding sea throws on a swimmer its tremendous laugh, remembering all the joy its waves have drowned, so from the darkness of the sovereign night against the woman's boundless heart arose the almighty cry of universal death. Hast thou God wings, or feet that tread my stars? Frail creature, with the courage that aspires, forgetting thy bounds of thought, thy mortal role, their orbs were coiled before thy soul was formed. I, death, created them out of my void. All things I have built in them, and I destroy. I made the world in my net, each joy a mesh, a hunger amorous of its suffering prey, life that devours my image seeing things.
Thank you. Let's pause. So death replies, insisting on the immutable decree, the unchangeable law, insisting on the immitigable law, which cannot be appeased or placated, and the insignificance of created things. That's what he's also insisting. They're not only transient, they're also insignificant. Actually, it's all kind of meaningless, unreal. So his voice comes, born from the enigma, the kind of mystery or something having no explanation, out of the unknowable depths, a voice of majesty and appalling scorn. So then he says, hast thou God wings or feet that tread my stars, frail creature with the courage that aspires, forgetting thy bounds of thought, thy mortal role? He says, their orbs, I guess he's referring to the stars, were coiled before thy soul was formed. I, death, created them out of my void. All things I have built in them and I destroy. I made the worlds my net, each joy a mesh, a hunger amorous of its suffering prey, life that devours my image seeing things. So he's giving his image, his representation of our existence, where each joy is a mesh, a kind of trap in which we're caught. And then we become the prey of this devouring death. He also created the stars, no? He's saying, I created them. Maybe he didn't. Huh? Yeah. He's saying all of this manifestation, this is all I've created, this out of my void. Okay, I think we need to stop there for today? Okay, one question. Well, it wouldn't happen. Okay. So from Sri Aurobindo's view, yeah, this inconscient from which the evolution has proceeded is not the true origin of things. The inconscient has been also created out of, let's say, the light, out of the omniscient and omnipotent divine. And he is just veiled himself, that light, and it became the inconscient. So our souls come from that omniscient and omnipotent light, which was the origin, the true origin of things. And it also has come into this world, into this inconscient, to evolve and to lead it back into the light again. Yeah, I don't know that we can really answer it in real logical terms, in kind of mathematical terms like that. But all the souls are projections of that oneness. It doesn't need to just be at one beginning point. I don't think so. You know, and that only the divine is only sort of allowed to create souls at one beginning point of all time. I don't think so. I think it's a kind of a ongoing, living kind of process that's there. You wanted to answer? Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's all there written in the Life Divine and Savitri. It's all here. He describes it in various places. He talks about the souls descending into the world in order to enjoy that adventure of evolution. But they're all coming from that same source. You know? And he speaks of souls as like sparks of the divine fire. So there's different explanations, different aspects of the problem, but we can't kind of narrow it down too much, I think. We have to be a little bit flexible in our thinking of it. Okay, let's finish.
Against the woman's boundless heart arose the almighty cry of universal death. Hast thou got wings or feet that tread my stars? Frail creature with the courage that aspires, forgetting thy bounds of thought, thy mortal role, I will take from thee the black eternal grip, clasping in thy heart thy fate's exiguous doles, departing peace, if peace for man is just.
Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.